And so it's 100 minutes counting down. You got that? Cool. You're a pro. Good morning and welcome to Waterloo. This is the World Junior Ultimate Championships of 2018. We are on the showcase field brought to you by Cut Camps. This morning we have the men's division of the U20 World Championships. We have the Netherlands facing off against Mexico. This is the B pool of this tournament. Netherlands sitting at the 6th seed, Mexico at the 7th seed. These teams are going to be very evenly matched, and we are excited to watch them play. I'm Naomi Redmond. Joining me in the booth today is a Waterloo-Kitchener local. This is Melissa Dunbar. Do you want to tell me a little bit about your involvement in Ultimate here?
Yeah, I've been playing Ultimate now for 7 years. Had the opportunity to play Team Canada Women's in 2016, getting a bronze medal in London. I'm excited to watch what these men can show today.
That's so exciting, and that way you know how exciting it is to represent your nation on the world stage.
Absolutely. There's a lot of nerves that come along with coming to a game this big and showcasing yourself on the world stage, but these guys have been preparing for a while. A lot of experience on these teams where they've been playing for many years, and I think we're going to see an exciting game.
I think so too. We were just chatting a little bit before the game, looking at the scores that both of these teams put up yesterday. Both of them playing Colombia. Netherlands falling 15-6, Mexico falling 14-6. So using that as the benchmark, we think that this is probably going to be a very close game. Netherlands also facing off against Germany, score 15-8 for Germany, and then Mexico playing Italy, and that game was 15-4. So the pools in this tournament are tough. These teams are out to play. These juniors players working so hard. They've all traveled a really long way. So we're so excited to see especially what these two teams have to show to us. So we're starting off with Mexico on the pull. That's a huge pull. It's going to float all the way into the hands of the Netherlands center handler. That's number 27, Mark Ploeg. And Mexico coming out with a little bit of a zone here. Junk, they've got a person in the middle trying to shut things down, but Netherlands stretching deep. The Netherlands looking a lot taller than Mexico out there, so we'll see what Mexico can do to shut down some of their bigger throws.
A lot of height difference with Netherlands, but I think a lot of speed here on the Mexico team, so they're going to be able to keep up with these long legs.
Mexico holding the zone. Netherlands content to swing back and forth between their handlers, and a blade out to the middle. That's going to open things up a lot. Ploeg here with the disc. Back to the sideline, tic-tac-toe. He's every other pass, looking to the end zone. A big disc goes up, and he comes down with it. That's number 27 on Netherlands there, Mark Ploeg. He's been playing with the Dutch team for 4 years. This is his 5th time playing. He's also one of the players who went to the World Club Championships in Cincinnati a few weeks ago with Groot. So he's obviously an experienced player. I think we're going to be seeing a lot from him today.
Netherlands not afraid to take some shots over the top. There's a bit of an upwind, downwind on the field today. So some discs are going to float, and I think that might be in Netherlands' favor with their height. Excuse me.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of defense Mexico continues to employ. If they want to try using that zone again, I think it's probably to their favor, maybe to overload the backfield in case any hucks go up.
Netherlands pull ready to go up here. Going to see if they're going to set up a zone on defense as well, or if they're going to employ a person-to-person strategy against this wind.
And this is going to be our first look at the Mexican offensive line. We'll see what they're doing. So they're set up in a vertical stack, nice and tight. The Netherlands players setting up on person-to-person defense with maybe a little bit of a bracket in the front, trying to shut down the break side. Not a lot of options off that front corner, but they float one out, sticking to the sideline, looking deep. Number 2 shakes free. That's Hernandez, but we have a holster. Gonzalez with the disc. Looking, breaks to the middle. Another break close on the D from the Dutch team. Naff back to the middle. Gomez out to the sideline. Mexico using a great break side, but that's a hand block from number 99. That's Tom Blasman on the Dutch team. And so now their D-line is going to get a chance to score a goal here.
Netherlands picks it up early, working hard, looking for that fast break.
And that's a huck. It's low, but he bobbles it into the end zone. He's going to have to tap it back in. That's Van Bakel. A lot of traffic around the disc. Netherlands really crowding their thrower there. And just a quick shot, a layout on the front cone. Looks like he may have straddled the line, not quite kept both of his feet in the goal line, behind the goal line there.
Good spirited discussion between the two teams.
So that's Blasman. He's the one who just got the point block. Throws a nice OI into the end zone, nice and easy. That's out to Patrick Shepard. And that's 2-0 for the Dutch team.
Netherlands is looking confident early on. Lots of patience on their O right on the corner of the end zone line there. Be eager to see what Mexico does now that they shake out the nerves.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Mexican offense looked really good. They were doing a great job of swinging it back and forth, using the full width of the field. It was really only when they tried to take that huck shot, maybe telegraphed the throw a little bit too much, and then the mark was able to switch over and get the point block. But other than that, I think if Mexico can think about using their shorter passes, I think they're a lot smaller than the Dutch team. They have probably better turning radius. They're lower to the ground here. They can take advantage and punish the unders before they take a deep shot against someone who's maybe half a foot taller than them.
They were doing a great job getting open on their resets. Lots of quick cuts back into the middle of the field. Gomez was picking it up in the middle of the field a lot there. If they can keep that, I think they're going to have some success.
So looks like they've switched up their line here, put out a new offensive line. The Netherlands chasing down the pull. That's a great pull right into the back of the end zone. Middle of the field. Unfortunate turnover here, short field turnover for the Mexican team. The Dutch team is going to get to pick up round about the brick mark. That's 99, Tom Blasman. We just saw him run and show on the last point. Let's see what he can do here.
Great mark from the Mexican player.
That's picked up, still on the sideline, puts it into the end zone. Seeing a lot of pick call hand signals from the Mexican team. Also possibly pretty close to the back line. So here's an opportunity to talk a little bit about the game advisors in WIFDIF. It's a little bit different. Us in North America, we're more accustomed to USAU rules, so we use observers. Game advisors a little bit different in the sense that a player can call them in and ask for their advice. It's a very relevant name, game advisors, but they don't necessarily have to listen to the call or the suggestion that the game advisor makes. But looks like it is, in fact, going to be a turnover. So Mexico is going to pick up right on their end zone line and doing a nice job of faking and pivoting there to get that up the line around shot off. We're into the middle. Bandera doing lots of work for this Mexican offensive line. Looking for the jam cut. Nice coverage from number 50. That's Patrick Shepard on the Dutch team. And a big shot goes up. That's nice. 19 is going to get it right outside the end zone. That's Hernandez.
Garcia with a great layout to save the disc, and then a beautiful huck downfield to get close to the end zone.
And all the way up the break side of the field, that gets Mexico on the board for their first point of the game. So now we're looking at Netherlands to 2, Mexico to 1.
And that's what we were looking for from Mexico, is to continue to work that disc into the middle of the field, be patient, and take their shots once they were there. And we saw it get them close to the end zone and just able to punch it in at the end.
Do you think that they're going to put that zone on again? That sort of 3-man.
It'll be interesting to see with the wind. Now Mexico's D-line is going to be against the wind here. It'll be interesting to see if they come down in a person-to-person to see if they can slow down any deep looks that come up initially. But the junk D that they were doing may work to stop that initial huck look.
And something interesting that you sometimes see is two teams playing off of each other. One team can take another team out of their element and kind of force them to play a different style of game. So it'll be interesting to see. We saw on that first Mexican offensive point, they tried to huck it. Maybe that's not really Mexico's game. So the Dutch pulling them into that just from their style of defense, their style of play. So we'll get a chance to see the Dutch offensive line here and see how they react to the Mexican defense. Nice blading pull. It's going to roll. Can only imagine they're going to look at putting down that zone again. Very loose, out to the sideline. Nice high release. Dutch team moving the disc too quickly for the Mexicans to catch up there. We're out to the middle. And a no-look throw. This Netherlands team really knows each other and where they're going to be. Groen with the disc out to number 19, Jibalu. Oh, and a bit of a collision there. Both the disc a little bit behind the Dutch player, reaching out to try and make the grab, and a lot of contact with the Mexican player, but looks good. They're gonna call it a turnover. Not too much discussion about that there. It's nice to see just a quick apology and moving on quickly.
Good spirit to make that adjustment and no one's tempers get up. Great talk between the two teams.
And unfortunate, a great read by I believe number 2 on Mexico, Hermosillo, to make that grab after getting sucked in by the Dutch offense. But now the Dutch are going to go all the way into the end zone, and a great positional defense from the Mexican deep defender. We've got a little bit of back and forth here. Hopefully Mexico can settle down. They've got the full 70 to go. Let's see what they're in their vertical stack, so let's see what kind of play they run here.
I think we can see Mexico starting to adjust to the fast break style of Netherlands, and they're ready for those discs to go up.
And maybe too many cuts at the start and not enough cuts right now. That's a Hail Mary, and there's going to be a second attempt. Mexico coming up with all of those. Really crowding the middle of the field. There's a lot of gray shirts in the middle. Looking towards the end zone.
Just an unfortunate turnover. Just a little rushed on the throw, but great patience to work it up the field the way they did.
Yeah, I think that quick movement is really going to give them the best chance at scoring a goal. It doesn't really give this Netherlands team a shot at catching up, and that's when Mexico is going to do their best work. But we have a timeout call here from the Dutch team. If you're the Netherlands coach, what are you telling them right now?
I think you're saying that their fast transition is working, but they have the opportunity to settle down a little bit on offense and make sure that when they are taking those deep looks into the end zone, that they are good one-to-one matchups. And Mexico's been doing a great job of dropping back and giving help D, and has started to shut that down a little bit. So a little bit more patience from the Netherlands offense, and I think we'll see that coming out of the timeout here.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine this Mexican defensive line might try and put on that zone again that we were seeing earlier. Try to stop whatever play that the Dutch men try and run. Hopefully, they have someone sitting deep to discourage any hucks that go up. There is a little bit of wind on the field today. It's not quite enough to make throwing difficult, but it's definitely enough to make you think twice before you throw anything big. And if you're looking at home, if the screen from left to right, that's the direction that the wind is going. So things going towards the right side of your screen, those are going to get pushed down a lot quicker. So it's going to make those throws a lot harder. So the Netherlands set up in a horizontal stack, 3 handlers back, and Mexico setting up in a zone. They have 1 deep, 1 player on the mark, 1 player sloughing into the open side lane. They've got a dump defender and 3 people in the middle of the field trying to shut things down. Unfortunately, high release not that difficult for this Netherlands team.
Great active mark from Mexico, though. Hands in the air, really trying to make it difficult for Netherlands to get those throws over the top.
Nice D. And the Dutch, 2 lefty handlers in the middle, making things a little bit easier for them to get around the zone, but they just didn't see that tiger in the grass person there on Mexico. So Mexico, about 30 yards outside of the end zone, someone shakes free, a little bit of a miscommunication. So that's a travel call. One of the things about Ultimate is you technically have 3 steps to sort of slow down, 3 to 5 steps, and you can't change directions. You can't speed up or slow down if you have the disc in your hand. So sometimes it's hard when you get excited when you're that close to the end zone.
Lots of hand signals being used for the calls here. Makes it easy to see between the teams what's going on and what calls are being made.
To the middle, that's Bandera. Out to the side, Fuentes. And, oh, so close. This Mexican team is doing such an amazing job going for those second efforts. And that could be the thing that separates them from the Netherlands team. Number 13, that's Groen. Can't quite see it. But Mexico taking the shot a little too early. They've got 2 receivers in the area, but the Dutch defender able to get in the way and slow down that pass.
That was Ronan Gaspiek with the D there, hustling to make sure that he saved their team from a score.
So, in the middle, Mexico still running sort of a slough zone, a little bit junky. And the throw just out of the reach. That's Mexico's 3rd D this point. Bandera, probably a good call, calling a timeout right outside the end zone, probably about 10 yards, 15 yards, maybe 12. And so they're going to be able to, there's no stall count, but they'll be able to set up some sort of end zone play, try and get around the Dutch defenders.
Great decision by the Mexico team to call a timeout there. They've had some high intensity on defense, forcing those turnovers, but maybe have gotten a little excited on offense. So smart move to slow the game down and give themselves time to set up and give themselves the best shot at the end zone here.
And this has been a really long point, but I believe this is a chance for Mexico to break.
Yes.
Which would be a very, very important goal for them early on in the game. It'll give them just a little bit more breathing room to tie things up at 2s, but also to create a little bit of separation from these Dutch men. And as we speak, we're starting to feel a little bit more of a breeze up in the booth here. So that's going to make things difficult, so much more difficult scoring in this left-hand side end zone because that's going upwind. So discs are going to pop up a little more. These throwers are going to have to put a lot more spin, a lot more snap on all of their throws.
I think the advantage here to Mexico, if they can keep the disc low, get under these Netherlands defenders, and give themselves a good shot at using their speed as opposed to any height in the air to get this scored.
Absolutely. I think if anything pops up, they're probably going to be toast.
Netherlands has been defending well high in the air. Let's see what Mexico can, if they can keep it low here for this score.
So someone's left poached in the end zone. This Dutch team crowding around the disc. Bandera in the middle. Nice break shot. And right away, a throw, a flick to the far side of the end zone. That's a nice throw, Melissa. So that is that break that Mexico was searching for. So we are now tied up at 2s. They've got a huge celebration on. They know how valuable that goal is.
I think Mexico taking a bit of a page out of Netherlands' book there, being patient and then just waiting for that shot and seeing it and taking the glory on that big throw, that break around.
And I think that's something that they talk about, the visionary players, the visionary handlers in the game. They're able to take a look, survey the field, and throw someone open.
Smart recognition on the Mexico handlers' part to see that Netherlands had sloughed off into the open side lane, and they had about 3 players open on the break side. So if he could get around his big defender, they were going to score, and that was a great look and exactly what they did.
So we have Mexico on defense once again, staring across the line at these Dutch men. The Netherlands running a lot of horizontal offense. Mexico running a lot of zone defense. It'll be interesting to see what we have from both teams here. Huge pull. It's a great pull from Fuentes. He's been doing a great job. He got about 3 Ds in the last point. Great to see him out there again, really doing work. And that's a drop from the Netherlands team. Unfortunate error from Blasman. Oh, a lot of traffic, but that's picked up by Padilla. He's on the sideline. Mexico keeping it exciting. But there's some sort of call. I believe they're looking at the line and asking to see if he was in bounds or not.
These game advisors here, they really step in and they try and communicate well between the two teams. Sometimes a language barrier can make things difficult, but they're very experienced and have been doing a great job at the tournament so far.
Absolutely, and according to the game advisor, the disc is going to stay. They look into the end zone, and right away, that's a pretty quick break for Mexico. So that's going to bring it up to 3-2 for this Mexican men's team.
Mexico showing a lot of energy on the field right now. We'll see if the Netherlands can match that intensity.
And it's very early in the game. It's only 3-2. We still have lots of minutes left on the clock. But I would say right now, taking a first look at these two teams, I really feel like Mexico is playing with a lot more heart, a lot more grit. They're celebrating after every point, and this Dutch team is looking a little sad out there. They're not excited. I want to see a little bit more celebrations when you see that huge hand block or layout grabs, etc. We want to see more celebration because that's what's going to get your team fired up.
Absolutely. And Ultimate is a game of runs. We know this. And if the Netherlands can settle in and get a few points back, I think we'll see their energy levels change. Netherlands just looking for an O-line hold here. If they can utilize their fast transition, getting this disc to their tall offensive players in the end zone, I think we'll start to see a bit of a momentum change again.
And that's Blasman to pick up the pull. Looking upfield. Shepard breaks free. He's looking to the end zone. That's what we were asking for. 37 going to the bank, and unfortunately out of the reach. And that's great defensive pressure from Mexico. They were there all the way. I think that's a really good look from the Netherlands, though. I think they need to be taking those shots. It's just a little bit of calibration, but they will connect.
Yep, a little bit of pressure on number 37 from the Netherlands there to try and bring that disc down before the back of the end zone line. So you're right, a little calibration on the throw, a little shorter throw, and I think he would have brought that down.
Absolutely, and we really saw the speed there from Lierkes. Now he's defending the deep as well. He's motoring out there. Really active mark from the Netherlands, making things difficult. Floating it out to space. Will he get there? Amazing grab from the Mexican player, and tries to throw it upfield, but I think what we call a little bit of the conservation of greatness there. Makes a great play, great grab over the Dutch player. Tries to look deep, but the throw doesn't quite come off of his hand correctly. Oh no, and some blown coverage, but luckily the Dutch player can't get it off. It's to hack in with the disc. And that's a goal. Netherlands back on the board here, so we're still tied, and a little bit more spunk from the Netherlands team on this point, I think. I think they need to be throwing those hucks. I think they need to be taking more shots. That's going to get them back in the game emotionally.
That's exactly the energy level they needed it to come out with on their O-line after a big break from Mexico. Those deep shots certainly take it out of the Mexican defenders. They're forcing them to run hard deep. And if Netherlands continues to take those shots, I think we're going to see some great battles and matchups in the end zone.
And something that we're seeing here, we actually have the Mexican women's team on the sideline. They're cheering along, which is really great to see. That's going to pump up the Mexican players even more. We saw this yesterday, actually. We were lucky enough to have the Dutch women on the team in the last round on the 3 p.m. game, and we had the men come along to cheer them on, and that really gave them a lot of extra energy and helped them push them over the edge and take the game against New Zealand. But it was such a close game. It ended up being about 15-13, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe one of the best games that I've seen on this showcase field so far. So Netherlands with a pull that's going to float for a long time, give their D a chance to set up down on the mark. 15 in the middle, that's Gomez. We've seen him do a lot of work for this team, and really tight marks from the Dutch, but he tries to sneak one through. I think he probably could have called a double team on that. There's a lot of bodies around the disc and not a lot of other players in white shirts, so I think that probably would have gotten in the way of the 3-meter rule. That's Mark Ploeg. We saw him showing his stuff earlier. He's looking to the end zone. Throws a nice around to Smolders. Back to Manelli, just on the doorstep. That's Gasbeek with the disc. Back to Ploeg. And lofts out a flick. Player shakes free, but the Mexican team is calling for a pick again. That was a visionary throw, if I've ever seen one. He really just put it out into the space and hoped that someone would go get it.
Great heads-up play by the Netherlands player to take that angle into the disc and attack it for the score.
So in this situation, if the pick is upheld, it'll have to go back to, I believe Ploeg had the disc right on the end zone line there, and the stall count will go back to whatever it was before or when the pick occurred. And then the Mexican and Dutch players in the end zone and on the rest of the field will have to go back to where they were when it occurred.
Both teams doing a great job of communicating with each other, quick resolutions to any calls on the field.
And that's an inverted throw, a hammer, and that's a huge grab. Dutch player number 42, that's Van der Vood, showing his stuff, elevating over the pack. And that's 2 in a row for the Netherlands team. So now we're at 4-3. And just like you said it, Melissa, this is a game of runs.
Absolutely. We saw after that O-line hold from the Netherlands, they got their energy back up. We can see them rushing the field more after scores, getting excited for each other. A lot more talk coming from the sidelines, too, now that they've gotten these 2 points in a row.
And in games like this, you start to see sort of the leader players emerging, especially on this Netherlands team, seeing the likes of Gasbeek and Hertog and Ploeg really doing a lot of work and leading the rest of their team, cheering them on and encouraging them to work hard. I think that's going to be the hardest thing in this game. The two teams play such different styles, so the Dutch team is really going to have to use their legs a lot more to take down the Mexican team.
So far, the Netherlands have been putting on mostly a person-to-person defense as they come down with the wind at their backs. They're feeling seems as though they're feeling confident in their one-to-one matchups.
That's a perfect pull from Van der Vood. Just scored the last goal, and he's back. Mexican is pinned in their end zone. Real dangerous territory. And the Netherlands have put on a junk zone as well. Just like that, Mexico doing a good job to move it back and forth really quickly, not letting a stall count really get in the way.
Great choice by the Netherlands to put on a zone in this position, really holding Mexico to the back of their end zone. Not a lot of space for throwing.
They are literally on the back line trying to find anything upfield, but the tall zone is shutting that down. That's Bandera in the middle. Moving quickly, Mexico should probably think about punting it. And just as I said it, that was an impressive hold. But looking at these hand signals, we've got a little bit of an injury call here. That's number 5, Gomez.
Looks as though just as he made that throw, he stepped forward for the continue and seemed to trip either over someone's foot or twist on the way down. Hopefully he'll be okay.
But I believe there's a little bit of discussion on the field here. That's probably going to decide whether or not the disc goes back to the throw before it happened, or if the Dutch team is going to be able to take possession. And that looks like what it is. So 42, Van der Vood, the pull that is causing this point, throws one out to space and a layout, but he can't hold on to it. That's Ploeg. So Mexico, thankfully, is going to get another chance here. The Dutchmen setting up another zone. Really tough. A lot of bodies in front of the disc. Not a lot that you can see upfield.
Their height and those long arms being used to their advantage on their zone here. Not a lot of space to throw between those bodies at the front of the zone.
Absolutely. Mexico really having to do work here, trying to be as wily as they can. And I said this before, but I still think Mexico might be able to call a double team. These players are really, really close to them, and that's why it's so hard.
It can be hard to see the double team in the heat of the moment when you have the disc in your hands and you're getting excited to break through a zone, to recognize what's around you.
Absolutely.
Hopefully their sideline can give them some help about when to call a double team, when to use it to their advantage.
And the Mexican handlers unable to get anything upfield. We've got 4 handlers back. Oh, and a huge layout catch block. Oh my goodness. That's number 21, Van Roosmalen. Absolutely unbelievable play. The Dutch are going to take the opportunity to take a timeout here to set up their end zone. Holy moly, that catch block was out of this world.
Great heads-up play by the Netherlands defender. Move in, attack the disc, and come up with a big defensive play right near the end zone.
And so if I'm not mistaken, I believe each team has taken one timeout at this point, both at for the same reason. They've been outside their end zone just after a defensive play has been made. So both teams kind of working in the same way in that sense. They want to calm things down. So normal for a defensive line to get too amped up after they make that big block. So the Netherlands here, they're looking into the end zone. They're going to set up a play. They're pretty close to the middle of the field, about 5 to 10 yards outside the end zone. That's very favorable, possibly the most favorable outcome they could be dealing with. So we'll see what they set up here. We're going to have Ploeg with the disc. Looking into the middle, that looks like number 42, Vandervoot, setting up in the initiating spot. Mexico to set up person defense. So this Dutch team, they have 3 players hugging the back line, 1 player in the middle, and 3 handlers back. And unfortunate miscue. Looks like Vandervoot was about to shake free, but the throw just a little bit too low. Unfortunate error here. Mexico is going to take a 3rd shot, try to break out of this zone, see if they've figured it out a little bit more.
Unfortunate turn there. That was the similar look they did last time they were on the end zone line, was just to do an isolated throw to space to a player. And unfortunately, just both times, execution errors on the throw.
And that Dutch wall, it's more of a cup than a wall. They're really wrapping around, stopping all of the swings, everything upfield. They're so tall. It's still really, really tight. Things are hairy here. Mexico back into their end zone, but they get free. Looking upfield, can they retain it out to the sideline? That's Oscar Graf. He's doing a lot of work for this Mexican line. Looking upfield, the Netherlands still holding it. That's a nice throw, breaking the cup, inside out backhand. Naff on the sideline, looking back to Graf. Nice touch on his throws into the middle. Moving outside the cup. We've got a few crashes here. Nice scoober from Mexico. Bandera through the cup, up to Naff, and another layout block. That might even be the same player. I'm mistaken. I believe that's Van der Svag, David Van der Svag, with the shutdown D. And Netherlands with a spinorama out to the end zone. Shakes free. There's 3 Mexican players in the area. It's going to be near the back line. And trailing edge, falling backwards. What a grab. That's number 21, Van Roosmalen. He got that layout catch block earlier. And that is an exciting play from the Netherlands. So they get up to 5. And that's exactly what we were talking about. That's the exciting ultimate that we need to see from this Dutch team.
Incredible athleticism from Netherlands there. First with a layout D as Mexico was just starting to break it up through their zone. And then another incredible athletic play in the end zone to float in the air the way he did and catch that on his way down.
Just absolutely contorting his body, keeping his eye on the disc while falling backwards. This Dutch team would be good to looking at some of their end zone sets. If they can shoot those simple throws when their players are just open instead of trying to throw hucks to someone falling backwards, that will really, really change this Netherlands offense. Looks like they've called another timeout, so that's their 2nd timeout of this half, which is an interesting call here, possibly looking to settle things down. I mean, personally, I think they have a lot of momentum right now, and they don't want to slow that down. But if you are the Dutch coach, what are you telling them right now?
I think we've seen 3 unanswered points from Netherlands. They're starting to get excited. We're seeing them rush the field. Maybe the coach is looking a little bit to get them back under control, to start making some adjustments for less athletic plays, a little more smarter plays, to see if they can continue this momentum moving forward.
And I think this is a good chance. I'm glad this timeout was called for the sake of the Mexican team. Their coach can go to them as well, collect them. It's only 5-3. This game is still really tight. We've seen so many runs so far already. We're still early in the game. So I'd like to see this Mexican offensive line here really running with their legs. I'm concerned on how they can try and fight against that Dutch zone. Hopefully they can continue to move it back and forth, but when they're pinned 2 yards outside the back of their end zone, I think they have to think about shooting it deep.
Absolutely. When you're that deep into your end zone and the stall count is getting high, it's often just better to get rid of the disc than to risk a Callahan or anything happening close to your own end zone line.
Absolutely, and we can always see a Callahan is just devastating to the offensive team. Interesting look here from the Netherlands. Regardless of their success with that zone, they've gone person. Or maybe it's some sort of transition. The players on the sideline are counting. Mexico faking, pivoting until someone can shake free, swing to the far sideline. Some of their players are really deep here. Shutting down the deep is an option. That's number 7, Estrada with the disc, looking back to the middle. Gonzalez throws a huck. Hermosillo's in the area, but Ten Haken has better positioning, and now the Dutch are going to the bank again.
Unfortunately, that disc just seemed to die at the end of the throw there. I think if it was able to hang into space a little further, that Mexican player had great steps on his Netherlands defender.
And a chuck and pray, but unfortunately for the Netherlands team, Mexico is able to get there first. And again, we've seen so many of these now. A great layout by number 14, that's Padilla, but he can't quite get it. And now the Netherlands are right on the doorstep with a chance to bring this game to 6-3.
If Netherlands can get a break here, I think this will be a tough one for Mexico mentally to come out of a timeout and to not have been able to have their O-line hold.
And a bit of a Hail Mary there from Ten Haken to number 22. That's Rick Kertzen. But Netherlands going to come down with that. That's so unfortunate for the Mexican team. They got that great D, but they just can't solidify some of those swing passes. And I think that's a great show of how this wind is picking up a little bit and making it just a little bit harder than it was at the beginning of the game.
Hopefully we can see the Mexican coaches talk to their O-line now to see. I'm expecting Netherlands to put on another junk zone. It's been so effective as Mexico's been going upwind. But I think if they can work it around the cup a little more, utilize the handlers, pull a few players back, because breaking up through the cup hasn't been working so far. So if they can swing it around the zone, hopefully we'll start to see Mexico have some success against it.
Absolutely, and the conditions here really favorable for Ultimate. It's overcast, it's not too sunny, not too bright. It's about 19 degrees Celsius. That's high 60s in Fahrenheit, so it's not too hot. It's the coolest it's been all week so far, especially here on the turf. Yesterday we were burning up, so it'll be good to see what both teams can do right now, because it's going to be a long week and it's only going to get hotter, especially because we're going to see some rain today. But here we have that zone again, wrapping around the players. That's a lot of bodies. Mexico again pinned in their end zone, able to shake free a little bit, breaks it through the middle. That's a great throw from number 15, Gomez, on the sideline, looking to graph, doesn't like it. Straight back to Bandera. This is the strongest throwing line that the Mexican team has here. 12, Gonzalez. Bandera, back to Gonzalez. Great movement. All the way across. Looking deep. Graf.
Mexico very effective in stepping into the middle of that large cup and then getting just beyond the edge of the cup to break those throws.
Gonzalez with the disc. Mexico, just like Melissa said, standing right behind the cup, making them a little nervous. Nice little lefty throw from Banderas there to open things up, reset the stall count. Need a little bit more activation from the middle. These handlers must be absolutely exhausted. There have been about 50 passes on this point already. Content to move back and forth, not even really looking upfield at this point.
Interesting, Mexico's sideline seems to be asking their deeper players in the zone to stay deep, maybe giving their handlers a little bit more space to try and move this cup.
And with the 4 handlers back, there's 2 mids and 1 deep, so Netherlands able to play person defense in the backfield. One of the things that's making it so difficult to shake free.
Great patience from these handlers.
Banderas in the middle. He's signaling for his players to come closer in. Throws that lefty backhand again to open things up to Graf. Still looking upfield. The handler's doing a great job of not forcing anything to the middle. And we've got 3 players going deep. Unfortunately, a little half-hearted. Handlers still having to swing back and forth, unable to open anything up in the middle. High release backhand out into space. Everyone going deep. Netherlands still holding this zone. They know that it's still effective. They've pinned the Mexican team, so patient, but for so long, right from the back of their end zone line. Out to the sideline. Banderas still telling his players he wants them to come closer. Mexico would do good to do some cycling right now. Maybe someone on the far sideline can go deep so someone else can come under. At least something to make the defenders in the deep space nervous, make them think a little bit.
Mexico being smart not to take any deep shots right now because there's such tight person-to-person defense happening in the backfield. They have to continue working it until those midfield offensive players can make something happen for them.
Nice shot out into space. I think the Dutch team starting to get a little bit tired as well. High release and a great grab in traffic. That's from Gomez. He's got a little bit more space, puts it out into the end zone, and a drop. That is absolutely heartbreaking. Oh my goodness, that Mexican handler core working so hard. 65 yards right outside the end zone, and maybe the receiver just didn't expect it to come in on that angle, but that is devastating for this Mexican line.
A good look to the end zone too, just an unlucky angle that a receiver wasn't expecting.
And that's a big huck going up. 44 grabs it, easy shot into the end zone. And that is another goal for the Netherlands. And that's going to be a hard one to swallow for this Mexican team.
Absolutely a heartbreaker of a point right there for Mexico. They were so successful in staying patient, doing what they had to do to work that disc upfield. And just an unfortunate miscue in the end zone. Netherlands capitalizing on that turn, not giving them any chance to catch up on defense.
And that's something that we've spoken to quite a bit if you've watched some of the earlier streams. Some of these teams in sort of the 4 to 6 range, in the bracket, maybe 3 to 6 range, we see them making some mistakes out there, but if those teams are getting a chance to play some of the top teams in their division, that's Canada, USA, Great Britain has done really well as well, those teams are going to capitalize on the mistake. You don't get a second chance. We've seen some really long points from these two teams out here, and unfortunately, if they're playing some of the higher ranked teams, if they want to move on into the semifinals, they really have to tighten things up. They have to calibrate. It's still early in the tournament, so they have time, but they have to get used to playing here in Waterloo before they can expect to have success down the road. So you've got a full new line on the Mexican side. It actually looks like quite a few of their defenders trying to take a shot here. The Netherlands going down in person defense. Mexico setting up in a vertical stack. Disc is going to be tapped in at the brick mark. Last back in the stack, looking very deep, separated from the rest of the field. We can probably anticipate him to be the initiating cutter, creating some space. There he goes, right to the break side. Not a lot of options, but shoots something inside. That's a nice read. Mexico moving quickly here, and a big shot out to the far sideline. And that's a nice D by Plog on number 7 on Mexico. That's Estrada. That was an interesting choice, but at this point, Mexico
needs to make something happen.
They need to make something happen, and we were saying this earlier about the Netherlands. They need some plays to get them excited, but here's a chance, a drop right on the end zone line, and a throw out into space, and that's a great goal for Mexico.
Absolutely. Smart decision to pick that disc up. Netherlands was on their heels, not quite expecting, I think, a turnover on the end zone line, and Mexico, again, taking a page out of Netherlands' book and not giving them a chance to catch up on defense.
And like we were just saying before that point, there's that unfortunate, unforced error, and Mexico capitalizing on the mistake and able to seal the deal right away. We'll just take a quick chance to thank some of our sponsors right now. Cut Camps sponsoring this showcase field. They're putting on clinics all week, coaching clinics, player clinics to give a chance to learn from some of the best. Cut Camps putting on their first international camp this year in Toronto, which is around about an hour and a half away from Waterloo, which was great. We were so excited. I'm from Toronto, so we were so excited to have those folks there and to generate more youth interest in Toronto. Really great opportunity. Thanks as well to VC, the official apparel company of the tournament. We also have Discraft, which is the official disc of the tournament, and of WIFDIF, as well as Greatest Bags, which have got these great waterproof bags. They're sponsoring a lot of players here at the tournament, so thank you to all of our sponsors for making this Junior Ultimate Championships possible. And here we have Plog picking up in the middle of the field. The pull is bricked. Mexico playing again, a little bit of a junky zone. It's kind of person, kind of not. A little bit of a poach in the midfield. It's 25, Dan Hertog. And unfortunate, that's a couple of mistakes on his part. I think he might be a little bit in his head. He really doesn't have anything to worry about. We're still in the middle of the game. He just has to really think about his throw, set his feet before he throws, and I'm sure he'll be okay moving on. But this gives Mexico a chance to look towards the end zone. Handler going up the line, and a lot of dancing, so we're going to have to throw to the far sideline. That's a great shot out into space. Fuentes into the middle, and an unfortunate drop once again. That's a tough shot. Inside flick, came in with a lot of spice, but now Netherlands is going to get another chance to do good here.
That was great work by Padilla to come in and try and save his player there with a reset. Unfortunately, just a bit of a change in the breeze there.
Nice grab. That's Fuentes again. And that's a goal for Mexico. So, like we've said about a million times this game, it's a game of runs. These teams, they seem to score 2 or 3 points on each other, and then it goes back to the other team. They're throwing it back and forth. So now we are at 6 for the Netherlands and 5 for Mexico. And that is exactly the kind of play that we needed to see from Mexico. Number 0 on Mexico, Luis Gerardo Fuentes, doing so much work for their defensive line, getting so many Ds so far, and able to convert into the end zone.
That's a huge upwind break for Mexico. Again, we're starting to see those momentum shifts back and forth, especially after breaks, the teams coming out, rushing the field, excited to see their D-lines being successful.
So here we have the Mexico D-line, some of the usual suspects out on the field. We have Fuentes with the pull once more. He's done a great job of pulling this game already, getting lots of loft on his pulls, quite a bit of angle too, makes it hard for these Netherlands players to catch. And there we go again. Netherlands going to have to pick that up. It's going to be in their end zone. That's 50. Patrick Shepard looking to the middle, and here we have the zone from the Mexican team out to the sideline.
Again with that junk zone D from Mexico.
A lot of pressure from this defense, forcing Patrick Shepard back into the end zone. Aaron Morrison having to throw it backwards just to make a little bit of space into the middle, and so close. Unfortunately, Mexico is going to have to get on their feet because Netherlands is off to the races. Rick Carretson with the disc into the middle, back to Shepard. Blastman on the sideline, unguarded. That's a nice break throw. Out to Ten Haken. Looking towards the end zone, not a lot of options. Shepard in the middle. And a big flick blade. Not exactly what he wanted. About 5 catch attempts there from number 99, Tom Blastman. Great second, third, fourth effort as he's going to the ground, going to the turf and still trying to catch it behind his back. Unfortunate throw, a little bit too excited. I believe that was number 17, Job van Bakel. But a great chance. Here we have Mexico again with a chance for the goal.
Again, I think just a little bit of an execution error on the flow. Oh, and then we just see a quick turnover there.
I think Mexico, if Mexico can clean up their swing passes, I think that's been the toughest thing. Testament to the Dutch handler offense as well, but it's the swing passes that's really killing this team in white. And a huge flying layout grab. Oh my goodness, that's a defensive block for Mexico. Hugely athletic play. Looking upfield, out to the middle, all the way across. That's Estrada. Garcia looking at Fuentes. Padilla, not a lot of options. He's going to have to put it out into space, but unfortunately runs out of stalls, and that's going to be a stall down. No more time on the clock.
A tough stall down after such an athletic play to save the point on the end zone line by Estrada.
Shepard out to Gaspeak, to the sideline. That's Carrotson. Van Backel with the disc to Blastman, looks towards the end zone, and a little bit of contact there on the D, come from behind D. Looks like this player, Shepard, went down pretty hard there. So that's definitely going to be an injury call. Hopefully he's okay. He's one of the strongest players here on the Dutch team, doing so much work for them.
There's a quick handshake there between the two players. I think a quick apology, as the Mexican player knew he came in a little late to make a play on the disc.
So now we're looking at 7 for the Netherlands, 5 for Mexico. So if the Netherlands are able to break here, that'll take this game into half. Or possibly this is half already. This is half already. That's my mistake. I'm so sorry. I've been commenting the score the wrong number for the last little while now. So that is 8 for the Netherlands, 5 for Mexico. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back. We are at the World Junior Ultimate Championships here in Waterloo at Rim Park on the showcase field, brought to you by Cut Camps. We have two fantastic teams here today from the B pool. This is Netherlands, ranked 6th, and Mexico ranked 7th, so they're nice and close. The score is reflecting that as well. Netherlands at 8 and Mexico at 5, so Netherlands just took half. Melissa, do you want to give us a quick rundown of what these teams have done so far today?
Well, Netherlands doing a great job in the second half of the first half, putting on a huge zone against Mexico. It's been really tough for Mexico to break through that zone. Netherlands has a lot of big bodies. They're using them effectively in that space, making sure that Mexico's having to throw the disc 40 or 50 times just to get close to the end zone. Mexico doing a great job, again, adjusting to that, though, starting to get really patient against that zone. We're starting to see them have some success against it. And maybe getting a little bit excited near the end zone, but I think we'll see both teams settle down in the red zone, try and get a little bit more higher percentage on their conversions in that space. Mexico, a speedy team on those quick, short unders, play very similarly to Colombia, Japan, and starting to use that to their advantage against the long legs of Netherlands.
Absolutely. We've seen some incredible plays today. We've seen huge layout grabs, 2 massive layout Ds, one from Kevin van Roosmalen on the Netherlands, a huge catch block right outside the Mexican end zone, and then answering number 7, Joel Angel Estrada on the Mexican team, actually getting a catch block in the end zone for the Netherlands, preventing that goal. It's been absolutely impressive watching the defensive effort from both of these teams. It's been exciting. There's tons of spirit on the sideline. There have been a few calls so far, brought in the game advisors, but I think so far this has been a really great game. A lot of athleticism on the field right now, and we are so excited to see the second half. Looks like we will have Netherlands pulling to Mexico. We'll see if they put down that zone. They seem to be doing it when they're starting at that end of the field on the right side of your screen. And that is a big pull from the Netherlands. Huge amount of hang time. That is so unfortunate, though. Never lands in bounds, so it's going to have to go all the way back to the end zone line. Mexico is going to have a chance to take it probably very close to the front cone here.
Just unfortunate there wasn't quite enough wind to push that disc back inside for Netherlands. Mexico getting great field position off this first point after half.
This is Gomez with the disc on the sideline. One of the strongest handlers floats one out into space, and that's right at the back cone. Too bad Bandera can't get there, and that's a nice run through D from the Dutchman.
Great separation in the end zone there from Mexico. Unfortunately, Netherlands just taking a better line to the disc, able to get up and get that D before Mexico could toe that in.
And that's Van der Vood that had that pull there. He's had some pretty impressive pulls in this game so far. Probably just trying to toe the line, see how fantastic those pulls can be, how much hang time he can get, how much angle he can get. But here we have another chance. That's a low throw. Can he get there? No, he can't. Unfortunate throw for Bas Smulders to try and run down a little bit too low. That's the wind forcing it down as well. We're going to have to recalibrate, but here we go again. This has been a game of turnovers here. Bandera is going to pick up the disc for Mexico, looking at that tight vertical stack. It's a high stall count. There's that swing pass that we were talking about. Too bad. Netherlands going to be able to pick up 5 yards outside the end zone. And another collision, but we're all okay. That's a nice grab, layout grab, even in traffic. So that's going to be great for the Netherlands. It's going to put them on the board once again. So now we're looking at 9-5. That's starting to look like too big of a hill for Mexico to climb back out of.
I think both teams just excited coming out of half here. A few miscues from both Netherlands and Mexico on their throws. Netherlands attacking the disc in the end zone. Take the first point out of half. Mexico's going to have to do some work in the second half to catch up here. We saw them go on a run, a few of unanswered points in the early part of the game. See if they can shift some momentum back to them coming out with their O-line here.
We'll see the combination pair of number 11, Oscar Graf, as well as number 15. That's Fernando Alder Gomez, the two of them doing a lot of good work against the Netherlands zone. We'll see them together again. They've been moving so quickly, short passes, not taking any time on the stall count, and that's what they're going to have to do here to generate another point. Gomez out to Graf. And a flood stack. Unfortunately, no Mexican players can break free, but now we have a shot at the end zone. Graf Holsers looking for the swing pass back to Gomez. Nice recognition by Mexico for an errant floaty pass. So much traffic here.
Mexico's vertical stack just looking a little stagnant to start this off, but starting to get a lot more movement now.
And a big, high, floaty shot. That's going to be tough. Looks like that's a cookie jar D. Hands over the top. That's a nice D by Vandervood. He's been doing so much work for this team. Those huge pulls, huge hucks. He's been the isolated cutter in the end zone, their initiating player. So it was good to see that D from him. Unfortunate, just a little too floaty from the Mexican thrower. They have to take a look at what their strengths are here, and it's not going to be up in the air up against these huge Netherlands players. Blasman looking upfield. A lot of very deep strikes. Graf trying to get into the mix, but can't quite get there. Blasman, it pops up. Can't quite hang on to it. There's too many players on the field. It's an injury call. Looks like he might have gotten stepped on. He's going to stay on the field. Just one of those reactions. Sometimes when you get cleated, doesn't feel too good.
Nope, the initial shock of getting stepped on, I think, takes everyone a second to adjust to. Once you get running, though, and playing again, you forget all about it.
And there it is again, that swing pass turnover. Really too bad for Mexico. Those swing passes are absolutely killing them. Blasman looking at the end zone. There's that high blading flick again to Vandervood. He's going to collect it, and that's another goal for the Netherlands.
We can see the Netherlands really starting to stretch the field here. They're not afraid to look for those deep shots to their tall receivers, coming down with it, making it look easy.
And that's the perfect throw. That flick blade, it's not too blady, it's not fully vertical. There's a nice edge on it, and it's going to one place. You can guess where it's going to go. There's good snap on it. So that's okay. Some of this higher throws that we've seen that are floating, that's not cutting through the air like that blade. So that was a really great throw from Blasman into space. The Mexican defender had no chance on it, and so that's a nice looking goal for the Netherlands here.
Netherlands coming out on D. This is the direction that they've been putting on that large cup zone against Mexico. Again, using the wind to their advantage a little bit, using their size to their advantage. Mexico's been having a tough time against it, trying to get those around swings around the big arms of Netherlands.
And just pull goes way out of bounds there. So Mexico is going to have a chance to brick this pull, take it up to the blue X that's in the middle of the field. And it's going to give their vertical stack a little bit of time to settle down, figure out who's going to cut where. Pretty deep stack. Netherlands setting up a poach up in the front, sort of trying to protect the break side. There's that flood stack that we saw. Fuentes shakes free. He's got a big throw. Looking at number 7, Estrada. Lots of people in the area, but unfortunately, everyone gets sucked in by the Dutch defenders, and no one can come down with that.
And that's what you were talking about, is the difficulty of those throws that float for so long in the air, allowing players to get under. Having so many bodies trying to go up just makes it difficult to come down with a catch.
Mexico with a good mark there. And there we go. There's that turnover right outside the end zone. And that's easy. That's easy. That's Estrada with the goal. He's been great for this team. Out to number 2. That's Hermosillo. And that's a very critical goal for Mexico to keep them in the game.
That's twice now we've seen Mexico make big turnover plays on the end zone line, getting themselves into good field position and immediately capitalizing on it, not waiting for the defense to set up, taking the advantage they have in the end zone.
And credit to the mark. I believe that was Hermosillo on the mark, who put on a lot of pressure, made it so much more difficult for the thrower trapped on the sideline to find anything upfield. And we were talking about this yesterday a lot, but a mark is so critical, and that can really change your entire defensive look with what type of mark you have.
It's interesting to see the difference between the marks on Mexico and the marks on Netherlands. Netherlands a lot more still on their mark, using their size, just trying to stay in the space. Where you see Mexico is very active, moving their feet a lot, moving their arms a lot, trying to make up for the size difference by being more active and more enthusiastic, putting pressure on the thrower.
Mexico, lots of cheering on the sideline. Big pull here from Fuentes, but looks like, just like the last one, it's going to sail out of bounds on the far side. That's what we were talking about, a little bit more wind here. And if you're looking on your screen at home, the wind is actually going exactly in the direction of that far corner. It's pushing things to the right of your screen, but also far away from where we're sitting here in the booth. So that's why things are going in that direction. So it looks like we have Ploeg picking up the disc in the middle of the field. Netherlands setting up a deep stack, being told don't go that deep. That's floaty, and Van Vood picking it up. Unfortunately, Mexico is going to leave one player free. That's Jabulu with the disc. Out to the far sideline to Ploeg. And a lot of contact. That's what we were talking about, those active marks from Mexico. Gets in a little bit too close.
I'd like to see Mexico step off their mark a little bit, just being smaller players. When they get so close to the taller Netherlands players, it allows Netherlands to take those steps around, to throw around them, or to get those high release throws off over their shoulders. I think if Mexico takes a step back on their mark and continues to be as active as they're being, we're going to start to see them shut down some of those throws a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like there may have been a travel call here on the far sideline. Maybe Van Vood took a couple of extra steps there to slow down, so we've brought in the game advisors to talk about it. And we'll see what happens next here. We've got 25 in the middle. That's Den Hertog back on the field, flanking. We have a very, very deep stack. There's a lot of open space in the middle of the field here with Jabulu. He's the closest cutter in the stack, and he's almost 30 yards away from where the disc is coming in. And now we have the third handler there, Ploeg, setting the stack. Still very deep. There's a lot of space in between every player. It's going to make it difficult for these Dutchmen to get open. And I think a violation call just because the Netherlands team started moving before Mexico was set.
Netherlands leaving themselves a lot of space here to get a reset to the middle of the field. There it is. And a great D.
And a run-through block, but looks like another call, maybe a foul on the receiver. Fuentes maybe getting a little bit too handsy coming in for that D.
The game advisor coming in, encouraging them to talk to each other first before going to the game advisor. These guys have been doing a great job all game of communicating to each other. Very calm in all of their discussions so far.
Mm-hmm. And it is great that we have the opportunity to just ask a game advisor when you need help. Sometimes you can tell right away that the two parties aren't going to agree, so it's best to just bring in the game advisor without wasting any time, because we do have time running out on this clock, not too much time left. So it's important for both teams, especially Mexico, to stay in the game. So it looks like from the hand signals, foul, no contest. So the disc is going to stay with Ploeg. He's going to pick it up there. Stall count will come in on 0. Looking upfield. That's a pick. Both teams need to clean things up here to move things along. Hopefully that stack, they can sort themselves out. Nice around throw. Van Vood. Into the middle, that's Rosemalen. Inside shot. And that's an offhand layout grab. Van Vood absolutely destroying this Mexican offense. He has been everywhere today. He has been absolutely the star player on this Dutch team. So that puts us at 11 for the Netherlands and 6 for Mexico. This game really getting a little bit out of hand. We were so tight up in the first half, but in the second half, the Netherlands able to settle into their style of play and create some separation and really just outplay the Mexican team. I think purely from a throwing and catching standpoint, Mexico has had some incredible athletic plays, but they've struggled so much just on their simple passes, the swing passes to the middle to reset the stall count. If they can clean those up, this would be a totally different game.
Absolutely. I think you've seen Netherlands looks really confident coming out of the second half. You can see them swinging it easily to the middle of the field, able to get it over to that break side, opening up the whole field for opportunities for score, where that's where we're seeing Mexico struggle, is those swings into the middle of the field.
And there's that big pull. That one's going to stay in bounds. That's an incredible pull from Van Voeten all the way at the back of the end zone. The Dutch team still not putting on that zone. And a big, big huck. Lots of players in the area. It's going to float and unfortunately go out of bounds. So Van der Vood is going to be able to pick it up on the sideline and look at the stack. Very deep here. Lots of float. Mexico able to get a D. Unfortunate turnover. And another big throw. They know they're running out of time. Looking at the end zone. And that's a great grab by number 24. That's Garcia, not getting sucked in by the defense. That's what we were talking about earlier. That's a great goal for Mexico.
And that's the execution Mexico needs to be putting on their throws. Putting that disc up into space, leading their player so he can run onto it. Well read by the Mexican player.
And like we talked about, we are running out of time, and so if Mexico wants to stay in this game, those are the shots they're going to have to take. Netherlands sitting at 11 points here. Mexico only has 7. That's not that big of a gap. They can close it, but they're going to have to be really efficient about it. We can't have these long points, any lulls, anything like that, too many turnovers. It's going to have to be Mexico, get the D, Mexico score.
We're just over 16 minutes left in the game. Lots of things can happen still with 15, 16 minutes left, but like you said, Mexico's really going to have to push here.
I would have liked to see number 0 Fuentes on the line here. He's such a great player. He's got the great pulls, but we'll see what Mexico can do instead. Looks like that pull is just going to sail out of bounds, unfortunately. Netherlands going to be able to set up. Good to see. I believe that is number 50, Patrick Shepard, who took an injury earlier in the game. Great to see him back on the field just before half after a little bit of a collision. He was instrumental in the first half for this Netherlands team, and unfortunately when he took a little bit of a break, Van der Voort had to take so much of a bigger role, but it's good to see him back on the field. Mexico with their 3-person set. Aaron Morrison close to the sideline. Back to Shepard. There's that big flick blade out to Blasman on the far sideline. And a D for yards. Mexico, that's number 24. He scored the last goal. That's Garcia.
Great heads-up defense by the Mexican defender in that zone.
Oh, my goodness.
Unfortunate turnover there.
And I think Perez maybe was looking upfield already. It was such a perfect throw, great cut, good separation. And now we're back to the races. Shepard setting up, looking upfield. Mexico trying to put on their zone. Lefty throw, unfortunate. Maybe not enough rotation for Morrison to really track it down with his eyes. So here we are, middle of the field, 5 yards out, with a chance to score out into space, and that's a goal. He hangs on to it this time. That's Perez. So Mexico, 2 unanswered now. They're only 3 out of the lead from Netherlands. We are 11-8.
That's a big break for Mexico to try and catch up in the second half of the game. Less than 15 minutes left. That's what they needed to do from their D-line. They needed that high-intensity defense. Great heads-up play by their players forward in the zone. Nice quick score after a turnover.
And great from the Mexican zone, forcing Shepard to throw that lefty backhand into the middle of the cup. There's tons of traffic. It's an offhand throw for him. Not really getting enough rotation on that, and it allowed Mexico to get in the way enough to force a turnover and make back that unfortunate error that they had earlier. So that second chance was so critical for them. So we have very similar Dutch offensive line that we saw on the last point. That's Blasman in the middle, staring at the zone. That's a gorgeous throw out to Shepard. Nice flick throw. But now Shepard is trapped on the sideline, not a lot of space. Very tight zone for Mexico here. Blasman, not a lot of options. Back to Ten Haken. Huge hammer out to the far sideline, and it's picked off. That's Estrada. And Mexico off to the races, and it's too high again. Just a little bit of a throwing error. Blasman's going to pick up again, have another chance. Out to Shepard. Both teams maybe just a little bit excited on their offense on this point. They can feel it. Blastman's faking his hammer because he doesn't have any other options. Luckily finds Morrison with a nice, what we call the dad backhand out into space. Scuber to Ten Hawken. Morrison doing a lot of work on this point. Ten Hawken comes down with it, throws another hammer. Interesting choice. Doesn't work twice. I wonder if he's going to get a chance to try a third one in this point. But now Mexico is going to pick up. That disc went so far out of bounds. Way too much mustard behind that throw for it to connect.
Fuentes from Mexico here motioning to his team to just settle down now that they have the disc back on offense. I think he recognizes the big opportunity they have here.
Absolutely, and if Mexico can come out with 3 breaks in a row, that would be so changing for this team to bring this game into 2. Fuentes with the under, looking deep. Estrada into the middle. 14, that's Padilla. Looking upfield, Estrada with a nice grab. Looking to dump. Nice swim cut. Padilla into the end zone. Throw a little bit too low, tries to jam it in, and an unfortunate turnover. We are going back the other way now.
You get the sense on the field right now that both teams know how important this point is. Netherlands to go up 12-8 would be a big difference for Mexico to try and come back. Mexico recognizing.
And that's a huge D. Knocks his glasses right off his face. This is so messy, but it's going to work for Mexico. Incredible catch block from Fuentes. He has been so critical for this Mexican team. And a messy throw, but it's going to work. So now we are at 11-9. Netherlands just edging out Mexico. And this is a close game now.
Mexico, again, like I was saying, you could sense how much they wanted that point, how important they knew that point would be. If they could get within 2 with 9 minutes left in the game, that they would have a shot to try and tie this up and to take the lead. They've put themselves in a good position, as best a position I think as they could have been coming out of the second half.
Mexico sounding a lot louder than this Dutch team, celebrating on the line, and with good reason. We've got the big D-line out there. Fuentes, number 0, number 7, that's Estrada. The two of them have gotten so many Ds for this Mexican team, as well as number 24 there, that's Garcia, has been running on O once they get the turnover. He's been scoring a lot of points, tracking down those discs, a lot of errant discs, maybe not what they expect, but Mexican team doing so well to track down every single throw. That's a great pull, lots of loft, all the way into the end zone, out to the middle. That's Plug with the disc. Mexico putting on the zone. Into the middle, that's Kroon.
Mexico's zone has been so effective at shutting down a big turnover.
Oh my goodness. Mexico luckily picks up that errant throw. Padilla with the disc. Stall count getting high and just out of the reach. A little bit too much on that throw. Unfortunate after that incredible grab. Incredible defensive play and incredible grab. The Dutchman back on offense.
As I was saying just before Mexico got the D there, Mexico's zone has been so effective at shutting down Netherlands' deep game. They haven't been able to get off those big hucks that they were at the beginning of the game. Instead, forced to play under. Mexico making Netherlands play a little bit more their style on offense.
And things are really tight here. Mexican defense getting really involved. An unfortunate drop. We've seen more upside down throws from the Netherlands in the last 2 points than we have from either side in this whole game. Maybe bringing that out right now isn't the right choice for them. They're having some trouble completing. Mexico is going to be on O after the timeout. I believe the disc will be coming in on 0. This is a chance for Mexico to clean up their offensive play. Probably going to be that vertical stack with the cut off the back that we've been seeing. Maybe something new. Who knows? But these Dutch players are going to have to rack up a little bit more energy to play one more round of defense.
Lots of energy right now from the Mexican side. You can hear them cheering. They're trying to pump each other up. Again, it would be a huge opportunity for a break here for Mexico to get within 1. Just over 5 minutes left in the game.
So Mexico going to set up here. That's one of the rules after a timeout. The offense can set, and then afterwards the defense can react and set up accordingly. Usually the defense will have already called what they want to do. They know which players they're going to cover, but the O has to set up first. And it looks like the vertical stack here, pretty deep. Players very tight to each other. We have Fuentes at the back. We can expect him to be initiating the first cut here. He's got Van Roosmalen covering him, who we saw some pretty wild grabs from earlier. Will be interesting to see that matchup. I think those two are sort of similar players, defensive grinders. A lot of movement in the upfield, nothing really effective, and it's going to be a pick.
Seems to be they're just discussing the stall count. In on 6.
Fuentes with the under, looking to Estrada. Not a lot. That's a nice high release, but Van der Voeten going to get there first. A little bit of extra height, and he is going. We are looking towards the end zone, and that does not look like it's going to stay in bounds. Little bit of a Hail Mary throw and a pretty impressive attempt at a greatest, but it's not going to be able to be played on.
Both the Netherlands and the Mexico players putting it all out here on the line. Just over 3 minutes left in the game. Not a lot of time for Mexico to make up these 2 points, but they're pushing hard.
And that up the line throw looked like it was going to do good, but just out of the reach. And here we have another turnover. Ploeg's going to pick up the disc. We've got Dan Hertog in the middle, looking upfield. Not a lot of options. Oh, and he shakes free. That's Groen on the far sideline. Players are wide open. A lot of poaching, switching happening from the Mexico team. They're sticking with their zone, which is leaving a lot of open players finally into person defense. That is another upside down throw. That one's going to connect. That gives Netherlands 12 and Mexico 9. Like we were talking about before, That's a pretty big gap, and there really isn't a lot of time left.
No, Mexico is going to have to pull off something pretty special if they want to tie up this score before the end of the game. We're coming down to the 2-minute mark in the last little bit of this game here. Mexico pushing hard to try and get that break once again, but just coming up a little short.
So just a quick look at the schedule for the rest of the day. After this round, we have another game coming up right away at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's going to be a women's game. The United States of America will take on New Zealand, and we'll have our friends from yesterday, Andrew Portwine and Tushar Singh, commentating that for you folks at home. After that, moving into the afternoon, we have another game at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's going to be a men's game. New Zealand facing Finland. And then lastly for the day, we'll have one more game at 3 p.m., which will be Japan and Italy. So stay tuned for that. Fill into our stream, share it with your friends. All the information is also on our Facebook, on our Twitter. You can check out our Instagram later today. We'll see you there. But for now, we have Mexico pinned in their end zone once more. Looking upfield, Netherlands putting on person defense, floating out into space. Graf with the disc, looking deep, huge flick throw. It's going to be short, though, so that's a catch block for the Netherlands. Ploeg has the disc. Van der Vood going to the bank. Let's see if someone sees him. And they do. Out to the end zone, lots of space, and that's another goal, 13-9 for the Netherlands. And I think that might be basically the end of the game. We only have about 10 seconds left on the clock, so I believe the next point will probably be our last. We're going to hit hard cap, and what a game we've had so far between these two athletic teams.
Mexico's defensive line showing a lot of heart in this game, working hard to get those breaks, to give themselves the opportunity to try and come back in this game, closing the gap to just 2 points in this second half. Unfortunately, Netherlands just running away with it a little bit at the end here.
So Mexico putting out a strong line. Same goes for the Netherlands team. I think both teams looking to close out this game. Mexico trying to claw their way back into things. They're still going to have another game this afternoon. They're still going to have more games in this week. Both teams clawing at each other, just trying to put points on the board. This game has been an absolute slog for both sides. It's been so hard. There's been so many turnovers. I'm hoping both teams are taking care of themselves. They've got a little bit of a break before their next game at 1 p.m., but they're gonna have to get some food in them, lots of hydration. It's not as hot today, but it's still going to be hot later. So hopefully they can take care of themselves for the rest of the week. That's a pull from Blasman. Gomez to the middle. That's Bandera. And this is the zone that we were seeing before, wrapping around the Mexican players. Unfortunate. I don't think Bandera saw that coming at him. So Blasman is going to pick up right about the brick mark. Looking towards the end zone, middle of the field. Good coverage from Mexico. Morrison shakes free. Looks toward the end zone, and he picks it up. Big spike from the Netherlands. They're excited about that one. They know what it means. That means next point can be game point for the Netherlands. They're going to be going out on D, and if they can break Mexico here, they will finish off this game.
I think we've seen a change in the Netherlands team in this second half. They've come out confident, not afraid to throw up some big throws. a few upside down throws as well that didn't always connect, but again, their confidence in their receivers and in their players has shown this whole second half.
And as we called before, this game is almost over. Looks like there was maybe a little bit of a discussion with the game advisor if this was going to be the last point or if the next one was going to be the last point, but that looks like that might be the whistle. So I believe this will be the last point, as it would be if the Dutch team is able to score here. But I think it would be really great for Mexico to put another point on the board if they can get their offensive line to really solidify some throws here and get some completions. I think that would be great for them moving on in the rest of the tournament.
You're right. I think if they could finish off with a nice O-line point, it would give them a positive finish to this game, moving into their game against Germany this afternoon, who's the number 4 seed in their pool.
And it looks like this Dutch team having to get a new disc to pull. That spike off the last point, a little bit too celebratory, may have warped the disc that they were trying to play with. So a little bit of a delay there. But now the pull's going to go up with Ten Haken. Big pull, lots of air underneath that guy. And it looks like it's going to stay in bounds. Nice throw to space. Quick movement. A lot of faking. A round throw. That's Chambers with the disc. Dishes it off, nice and safe.
Perez working hard in the middle for his team here on these resets.
He is doing so much work. Him and Gomez making sure they retain possession. Maybe I spoke too soon. That's a big throw, and it's going to go out of bounds. Blastman's able to snack that one up. Not exactly the angle he was looking for. I think he wanted a little bit more of an outside in edge so that it would have curled back, stayed in bounds. But now we have close to the sideline. That's Patrick Shepard going to go to the end zone. Ten Haken laying out just a little bit out of his hands, a little bit too far. That was a nice throw, though, right from the sideline into the bank.
Great run by the Netherlands player to try and get there in time, but just the disc died just a little bit at the end. He wasn't able to get there, but great run.
And Mexico here able to take one more shot. If they can complete, that would be great for them. Going to pick it up in the middle of the field. We have Blastman on the mark. We've seen a hand block from him already, but minimal effort on his part. Very stagnant mark, not really worrying too much. Mexico able to do a lot of work. They've got someone going deep. That's Chambers. Going to try and put it out into space, but again, not enough behind that throw to get it into the hands of Chambers.
We've seen Mexico a few times have those big backhand huck looks and instead switching to their flick, and it's just tailed off at the end a few times.
But that throw a little bit behind Morrison. So again, Gomez is going to pick up this time, something a little bit different here. The vertical stacking up. We have Perez, like we said, doing work, trying to throw that flick again, but like we said, that's the upwind side. They're not as confident with their flick throws. They're putting a little bit too much edge on them, and it's slowing the throw down, unable to get there. Netherlands going to take their third shot at scoring here. Looking a lot more calm than Mexico. And picked up. Patrick Shepard, nice and easy. Blastman right on the doorstep. Not a lot of options. And Mexico laying out, but Shepard able to hang on to it. Floats one out. And that is game. That's a nice grab by Blastman. That's going to be 15 for the Netherlands, and Mexico is going to finish up with 9.
Great game from both sides. A lot of fight from that Mexican team, especially here in that second half to try and close the gap. Netherlands should feel happy going into their game against France, seated just above them in their pool this afternoon.
And that's a great game. Great shows of athleticism from both sides. Great matchup. A little bit of a different style, but really matching against each other well. Lots of different looks on O and on D. Absolute delight to watch these Netherlands men and the Mexico men. Thank you, both teams, for such a great game as well. Thank you for our sponsor for this showcase field. That's Cut Camps. Thank you, Melissa, for sitting up in the booth with me this morning. It was a pleasure. We're going to have Melissa back later in the week as well, so you can hear her again later. As I said before, next up we have a game in about 10 minutes. It's going to be the USA women's team facing off against the New Zealand women's team. So thank you for everyone at home tuning in to the World Junior Ultimate Championships here in Waterloo. We will see you in 10 minutes.